Hi, folks, and welcome back to the Meaningful Money podcast. This is session number 599, sort of, with me, Pete Matthew.
And me, Roger Weeks.
Hello, Roger.
Hi, Pete. And today we're adding an extra episode to chat about the budget. We're recording this on the day after the Chancellor's speech, so we've had a short time to digest what's been announced and understand what's happened.
Do you feel like you've digested it fully?
Not really, no.
We'll do our best. But it will be better. I put a video out yesterday, which was sort of very... I think I finished recording it by about, 3:30, something like that. So, only a couple of hours after Rachel Reeves sat down. But today, we can take our time a little bit more, maybe express a bit more of our opinion.
Oh, I think it's probably more of an opinion piece than anything else.
Yeah, we'll see. And also talk about, how it might affect you, particularly from a financial planning standpoint. But I alluded to it a little bit just then, but there is a bit of a problem, Rog.
Yeah, what's that, Pete?
Well, this is an extra episode. And because now we're having to be much more organised, we've got producer Kate helping us, and we've got various other things going on, more content going out. We've already recorded the next few weeks' worth.
Yeah, we have.
And we already put in a little marker on one of them that episode was number 600. But now we've put this one in. That's going to be actually episode 601.
Well, actually, it's funny because when I read this, hold on, why is this 599? We did 600.
Yeah,
recorded already, but...
So numbering system messed up, but never mind.
Yeah, well. I mean, I chatted with Jen this morning and said, look, we got a problem with our numbers now. She said, well, do it like you normally do, like street names, street numbers.
Actually, I think you've just triggered something, because in those recordings, we would have said, we would have said about the links.
Yeah, we would have.
So this has to be what Jen said then. Yeah. So tell me what Jen said.
Well, Jen said if you had built a house in your garden and you're number 11 and the next one was number 12, it's like the local authority says, well, they call it 11B or 11A.
Well, let's call it 11B for budget then.
B for budget.
But we're going to call it number 598B.
598B.
Hi, folks, and welcome back to session number 598B.
That makes far more sense.
It does make sense. And of course, that means, that we'll just...
we'll have to think in the future.
We will. We'll have to be a bit more organised. But what we can do, of course, is when we allude to any links and stuff, they will be at the show notes. So this is going to be meaningfulmoney.tv/session 598B. There we go.
Makes sense.
Catchy as anything. God, what a palaver already. Let's dive into it, bud. So I suppose we can start by talking about tax.
Yeah, the taxes was going to be the big one that people were worried about because... she had these rules that she wasn't going to break.
And then she might possibly have been breaking them for a while.
Yeah, some of the headlines from a couple of weeks ago, preempting what might happen in this budget.
Well, yeah. And she did
so much information.
She did a press conference, which it felt to everybody like she was teeing us up for income tax rate rises, which would have been a manifesto promise broken, like very explicitly. Yeah. And then like a week after that... I think it was in the FT. Somebody spoke to the FT, people familiar with the situation.
Oh, yes.
Spoke to the FT and said, no, that's definitely not happening. So I don't know.
And she had a bit of a telling off, didn't she, by the Deputy Speaker yesterday?
Yes, like, not directed solely at her, but, I mean, of course, the OBR messed up royally and actually released the document half an hour before Rachel Reeves stood up, which is... unprecedented, really.
Well, because I went and looked at the BBC site, teeing myself up, ready to watch it, and it's like, we've just had this, and they're going to do it on the fly, and they say, well, I can actually tell you what the budget's going to be now.
I mean, that's bad, isn't it?
Yeah.
But, I mean, the Deputy Speaker definitely sort of gave him quite a significant bollocking, really, and just said, look, all these leaks, all these pre-announcements, that's not acceptable. This is meant to be delivered to the House.
The House has got to hear first, and it's ludicrous the way they did it. And actually, some of the things that was hinted at never actually happened either. No. But she has raised taxes for a vast majority of people, which will include workers.
Yes, ordinary working people. Yes, it's a very difficult to pin down segment of the society.
Yeah, but the problem, what she's done is actually raise taxes on non-earned income, but that will affect people that earn. Yeah, because hopefully we're doing some decent things anyway.
So she made quite a big play about national insurance not being charged on income which isn't earned, which is true.
Yep.
Right. So I mean, the problem is, national insurance is a tax like any other. It's just another income tax, isn't it?
Yeah,
so
really.
I just think, why don't they just make it a lot easier?
Just call one big tax level and have done with it.
So you only pay national insurance on earned income. So that's obviously salary or profits from self-employment or whatever. But and you don't pay it on property income, so rent. You don't pay it on dividends. You don't pay it on interest on savings in the bank. So she's added 2% to the income tax bands
for those,
but not in a very consistent way. So property,
exactly.
Who comes up with this stuff? So property income, she's added 2% on all the bands. So on the basic, higher, and additional rate band. So they will be 22%, 42%, and 47% from April 2027.
Yeah, but on dividend income, she's increased the bands by 2%.
Yeah,
on basic and higher rate, but not additional rate payers. It's like,
why not?
So those rates now will be 10.75, 35.75, and still remaining the 39.35. And those are from April 26.
It's not. They can't even sort of line up the timings of this stuff. I mean, there must surely. Well, I kind of want to hope there's a reason for this, but you think, let's just make life easy, shall we? And just do it all from April 26 or all from April 27.
I wonder if it's because people can't play very much with the dividend income. It's going to be streaming through from from investments and stuff like that. I really don't know. But you think someone out there must go, hold on a minute, those two are 27. Why is that one 26? It's
madness. And savings interest is the same as the property income. So adding 2% on all three bands. So again, that's 22%, 42%, and 47% income tax rates. This time from April 2027.
Yeah. But she did go to quite lengths and say actually 90% of savers don't pay income tax on their savings because they don't hit those thresholds anyway. So
you've got the starting rate, and you've got the personal savings allowance. You've got the starting rate for savings as well if your income is low. So so those are all stuck where they are. And speaking of, perhaps the most. I want to use the word effective, but that sounds like a positive word. The measure that perhaps affects the most people is the freezing of the thresholds.
Yeah, because it's a stealth tax you don't allow for. I'm not putting rates up, but actually next year you get a pay rise, and the year after you get a pay rise, and the year after you get, and actually it goes through to 2031.
3 more years from what it was already frozen to.
Yeah, so we've got another 6 years of this, and it's known as fiscal drag, and you and I know that. Because, the rates haven't gone up, but actually it'll drag more tax out of us.
Yeah.
Because we'll hopefully be having some more income in the future and they'll be taxed higher.
Yeah, keep the thresholds where they are and income increases, more of that income is taxed.
And you trip over into a high rate tax or additional rate tax.
Yeah, exactly. It just, it's more tax, but as you say, by stealth.
It's quite a clever way of doing it, but that's a long-term thing now.
Some say clever, some say cynical.
Yeah.
But it is. I mean, 6 years from now, that's a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, it felt like 2028 was a long time away when that was first announced. And that was under the Conservatives. It was frozen until then.
Yeah.
But now it's another 3 years on top.
And the handy thing for people like us is that we know what the thresholds would be when it comes to advising people.
Yeah. Well, I've still haven't memorized the tax rates on dividend income. I had to look them up. So now I've got to start again. And it just does not make life easy, does it? I'm kind of glad I'm not an accountant. I mean, I know software does so much of this these days, but it's the extra 2% on particularly these. How's that going to work for the ordinary people that perhaps don't even do a tax return at the minute, but they will trip over it as a result of this? Yeah, and as a result of the frozen thresholds. Yeah, absolutely. It's it just all seems a bit cynical, but hey, I mean, it is what it is. We can that was also widely trailed.
Yeah, and they've got to plug a hole somehow. Without crossing the barriers that they'd already laid for themselves 12, 18 months ago.
Yeah, we are going to try and studiously avoid political comment here because it's not really the place for it. But
and it doesn't matter which colour you are.
No.
Everyone would have done this in some sort of ways,
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, okay. I nearly said something then and would have broken my own rule about not being political. So, so I won. No. So that's income tax. Anything else to add there? Probably not.
I don't think so. No, it's going to be one of those things you can't get away from, really.
No, exactly.
And this stealth tax, like you say, it's cynical, but it's the way that it's an easy way of doing something that doesn't cross a threshold that they've.
It technically doesn't break their manifesto promises, but it's
we'll be paying more tax.
Very much a technicality, for sure. Capital gains tax, there wasn't a lot going on there. Some changes to share exchanges and company reorganizations. I think it's where like holding companies and stuff are set up and shares move between companies.
And it's a way because people can issue themselves debentures instead of shares, and and you can do it for legal business reasons, but if the reason you're doing it is to avoid tax, then they'll grab you for it. How they find that, I'm not quite sure. But they're talking probably about major companies here anyway.
Yeah, it's probably not going to affect most listeners. Some changes, I think, for non-residents when it comes to capital gains tax as well. But essentially, it was loophole closing. Their words was, we're going to close loopholes, close loopholes, and clarify legislation. So just tightening, really, I think, on CGT. But there was one thing that made me go, oh, rats.
Yeah, I thought of you as soon as the words came out. Then this is business sales to employee ownership trusts, which is something that's quite a major benefit for lots of people, and one thing that you actually highlighted in a couple of podcasts recently.
Yeah, it's certainly something that I would like to do. Well, it's all right, because somebody asked, didn't they? Somebody asked a question and said, have you considered an employee ownership trust?
We have.
We have. This was always kind of plan A for me, and it still will be. So, obviously I now own half of Jackson's with our colleague Mike Caffrey, and the goal is, I think the main goal is not to sell to a big consolidator, because that rarely ends well for the clients and for the team. Usually ends quite reasonably well for the owners of the business. So I would probably come out all right, and potentially with a higher amount when I decide I've had enough. But it's not something that I want to do. So an employee ownership trust is certainly not an easy option. It's essentially a way to hand over ownership to the current employees of the company, but through a mechanism called an EOT, an employee ownership trust. And one of the key benefits, obviously, for me being the selling business owner, is that it would have been 100% relief for capital gains tax. I would have paid no tax at all.
Yeah, and in a way, although it's a really good loophole that you could use, it's not even a loophole, it's a legal level thing. It's still, in some respects, grated to people to say, well, actually, why should you be able to sell the whole company? Yeah. If you sold them to somebody outside, you'd have to pay CGT.
Yeah, so why not in this case? I kind of wonder what they were really trying to encourage with this.
I think it's to get your employees more involved in the running of the company, and therefore come up with different views and giving them the benefit. So rather than these big bosses stepping on the workers below and say, I'm going to make loads and loads of money out of this, and you're going to make a little bit.
Yeah, it was a conservative policy, though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, but I'm sure you're right. But anyway, there will still be 50% coming against tax relief, which is still pretty generous.
It's not to be snorted of that, really.
No. But I mean, we're not talking for me for at least sort of 7, 8, 9, 10 years anyway. So it's not imminent, and there was no way on God's earth it was going to stay in its current form for that long.
It was really too beneficial. So.
Yeah, so that's CGT. Not a whole lot of change there. Inheritance tax. I mean, really, last year was the year for inheritance tax changes, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, hugely for entrepreneurs, business ownership, and farmers. Really.
Yeah, agricultural businesses. So thresholds and nil rate bands all frozen for one more year. They were already frozen until 2030. They've just kind of aligned it, so now everything's frozen until 2031.
That's been frozen for such a long time now.
Really, I mean, a ridiculously long time. Yeah, I want to say it's sort of 90s, but I can't remember.
I wouldn't hate to, but it seems like decades, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the inheritance tax take rising as a result. Last year was just, like seismic changes, wasn't it? Like you said, particularly for entrepreneurs, business owners, and farming businesses, because it used to be that if you owned agricultural businesses, or if you owned shares in a private company that ticked all the boxes, you had essentially 100% inheritance tax relief, passing it down to your family, which I think particularly in farming businesses, my wife's family are farmers, so this, hugely potentially impacts them. And we got lots of clients in Jackson's who are farming businesses as well. And it was just like the ground shook, and it felt like Cornwall yelled.
But there's so much land around here.
Yeah, right.
There's not so many roads, loads of land. Because it didn't make sense. Because obviously farmers that were successful built their farms up, and they got livestock, and machinery, and land itself. And then to have to say, well, you're going to hit some sort of inheritance tax threshold. That say a farmer's worth £10 million, you could pass it on to your son and grandsons and everyone to carry on farming it without any worry. And then suddenly it's actually they've got to find some money. Well, historically, farmers have been cash poor.
Yes,
and asset rich,
land rich, particularly.
Yeah, so how are they going to pay for this? Well, they're going to have to sell some land. Well, that then, or some machinery or some livestock, and it then
impacts their ability to earn a living.
Yeah.
Which is they're on super tight margins anyway. They made a big play about it, particularly on the agricultural relief thing at the time, about it sort of I think James Dyson's name came up, didn't it? Because he owns a ton of farmland, as presumably a death tax sort of planning
mitigation
angle. But that the problem is, as is always the case, that people are sort of pulled into it that perhaps were not the primary targets. So, and I can think of, off the top of my head, I can think of half a dozen farming families significantly affected by this, who are working with us and their accountants to sort of work out how we do this. So what essentially happened was that it's £1 million per person was relieved, and over that you're paying inheritance tax. Well, it doesn't take that much good land to add up to £1 million.
No, or some machinery. The tractors are £250,000 ago and stuff like that.
No. Also, that £1 million was across both APR and BPR business relief, so it wasn't £1 million for each relief. And at the time, it wasn't transferable between spouses, which is ridiculous because pretty much every other allowance is.
It was transferable, exactly.
No rate band, residence no rate band. So it was announced yesterday that the £1 million allowances for APR and BPR are going to be transferable when it all kicks in next year, April 26th.
I think part of the problem with this is that I think historically, and I'm not from a farming background, but I've had some members of the family had small farms, is that the matriarch or the patriarch of the family kept hold of the farm, and then the son that was now in his 50s would run it, but owned by the parents.
Yeah.
And then the grandsons and the granddaughters would come in and help our farm as well. But the older statesmen held on to it.
Yeah.
And
it didn't matter, does it?
It didn't matter those days. So now I think it encouraged them to start gifting stuff or bringing people into the partnerships now.
Yeah. Implications then for spouses and possible relationship breakdown and all that sort of stuff, because it's been, let's say how it is, it's been very down the male line historically.
Yeah.
Assuming there were male heirs and everything. So there's a lot more planning going on. So, financial professionals have had a field day. Yeah. There's been a lot of work done. But I know it's certainly caused a lot of anxiety. And for anything, a half decent sized farm, this is a huge issue.
Yeah.
So at least these allowances are now transferable between spouses. So that's a very, very thin silver lining on what I yesterday, if you'll forgive me, listeners, in my video I called it a steaming turd of a policy. So that's my as far as I'm going to go.
I heard the silver lining. I didn't hear the turd one, but
you just said it again. I just think if you attack the food producing.
Well, that's the thing. We're trying to be self-sufficient.
It seems ridiculously short-sighted to me. But anyway, I shall drop that immediately. See? Set a rule, and I've already nearly broken it. Oh. Okay, pensions, very much in our bailiwick.
Yeah, this is what I was looking for, because there were certain highlights. One of the important ones, because the triple lock is still in place.
Yes, really
is good. Is the rise of 4.8% of state pensions.
Yeah, £575 a year.
Yeah, even on the older state pension, it's £440. So it's well worth having. Yeah, the problem is then it's pulling people closer to your personal allowance.
Yeah.
So,
but she made explicit mention of that, because if you only just pay a bit of tax, you can do a simple assessment rather than go through a full tax return. But she, from the dispatch box, said we are going to look for ways for people whose only income is the state pension. From 27-28, when it's likely the state pension will be part taxable, they're going to look for ways for people to avoid having to do that. So no detail on that yet, I don't think. But
that's going to be a minefield as well. So how do you work out who only has a state pension?
Yeah, how do you work that out if they don't do an assessment?
Or how many people have just got a little bit over the top, so they pay on that as well. And I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work at all, but that's for their job. That's not for me to worry about, really.
No, for sure. She talked about overseas individuals.
Yeah, that was really interesting. So I thought, let me have a look at this now. So you could actually move abroad and pay voluntary national insurance contributions and increase your pension whilst not providing anything to the country by way of tax return.
Yeah.
It's ludicrous. So she's actually stopped that now.
That's immediate, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay. So that's voluntary class 2?
Class 2.
National insurance contributions. So she actually said she's going to launch a review into that whole system, which is interesting. But you're going to need a minimum of 10 years residency in the UK before you can use. Which is
only fair. Why should we let people that don't even live in the country increase their benefits from the state pension? That's really great.
Obviously, you have to have some residency to get any, don't you? But she did. I think the example she used was people living in the UK for 2 years and then moving abroad, but using VNICs to.
Yeah.
Oh, well. So that's the state pension, but good for pensioners, 4.8% rise. And certainly, and perhaps unsurprisingly, in the comments under the video that I put out yesterday, salary sacrifice was the one that garnered the most comments.
It was the one I was looking forward to hearing about, only because that's the one that is in my realm, really. And it's so this is, you can only get your national insurance relief up to £2,000. There's going to be a limit on how much benefit you can get from that. So,
worth explaining just how this works, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Go on.
So the way this works, listeners and the viewers now, is that historically we would all get paid. You pay your tax and national insurance, then you make contributions into your pensions. And then somebody came up with a jolly wheeze that actually, if I were to sacrifice some of my salary, I would then pay less national insurance, and so would the employer. So it's in the employer's interest to do this as well. Yeah. So you say, okay, say I made a contribution of £1,000 out of my salary. I've already paid tax and national insurance on that. What I'll do is I'll say to my employer, you put that £1,000 into my pension for me.
Pay me £1,000 less.
Pay me £1,000 less.
Contractually.
Yes.
Yeah.
For at least 12 months. I would be no worse off technically than had I then paid my pension contribution, but actually I'll be a little bit better off because I haven't paid national insurance on that. And for small amounts, that was okay. And the government's saying, okay, we'll let that still happen up to £2,000. But the worry, and what tended to happen for a lot of employers when they did this is that the employers would save some national insurance. They would give some of that benefit back to the employee. So you'd end up actually having more in your pension and netting after your pension contribution the same net earnings effectively.
Yeah, essentially.
So everybody won on it.
Except the government.
Except the government, because you were not paying and your employer was not paying national insurance on that amount. And they're trying to catch people that have thrown big lumps of this. Really.
Yeah, they're getting their £60,000 bonus or whatever and dropping it all. Yeah. Sacrificing it all. Not technically salary sacrifice, that is it?
No, I'm just giving up some bonus. And no, we're going to give you a bonus. How do you want it paid? I don't know how they're going to work that really, but I did work out an example.
Go for it.
Allow me this. So as an example, if you did a £10,000 contribution into your pension, so you wouldn't do it, your employer would pay £10,000 into your pension
via salary sacrifice.
Via salary sacrifice. So you don't pay the £10,000. You say to your employer, look, give me £10,000 less salary, and put that into my pension for me. So you would actually save £800 worth of national insurance.
Yeah, 8%.
By doing that. And your employer would save 1,500 quid worth of national insurance for the employer's NI. So it's a big saving. But with this threshold now being reduced to £2,000 worth of salary sacrifice, you'll end up paying £640 worth of national insurance, and your employer will pay £1,200. So the employer only saves 300 quid, and you only save £160 by doing this.
Yeah, so it's better than nothing, but
it's still a slight benefit.
One has to wonder. I mean, yes, it is still better than just doing ordinary contributions, isn't it? Because for that 2,000 quid, it is because you are and the employer are saving NI on that 2,000 quid, but it is capped at that. But one has to wonder how they're going to work it if you want to sacrifice more, because it's going to have to be kind of factored back in, isn't it? And is that going to be done presumably through tax return?
I'm just wondering whether the employer would have to make some sort of declaration, because it's a legal agreement. Nobody's going to know about this apart from you and your employer. Yeah, right. Really? Yeah. So I really don't know how they're going to administrate for this.
Payroll systems, maybe? The thing is, like many of these, this is not coming in until April 2029, which is right at the end of this parliament.
Yeah, so it's not going to affect too many people just before the voting happens.
No, it seems odd that. So
I'm just wondering whether they're kicking it down and then work out how it's going to happen. And will it happen that way? I really, really don't know.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if actually they'll realise it's a complete dog's dinner to administer and they'll back off from it.
Well, I can see there's a minuscule benefit by doing the £2,000 that way. I don't know whether employers are going to end up saying, actually, we can't be bothered. Let's just go back to the old way of doing it.
Yeah, or we'll only allow you to do 2,000.
Which seems like a bit of a dog's dinner, doesn't it? The other benefit by doing salary sacrifice is that you get your if you're a high rate taxpayer or additional rate taxpayer, you get your tax relief at source because you're earning less, so you haven't got to claim the additional rate. So
wait, you would only have to do if it was a net pay scheme. If it was a source scheme, I never get these.
I never get those right. So it's if it's a net pay scheme,
it's actually not taken from net pay. It's taken ahead. It's taken before taxes is charged. So if it is a net pay scheme, then you would get a tax relief at source anyway, wouldn't you? But if it's not, you wouldn't. You'd have to claim.
You'd have to claim it back. Yeah. But then the vast majority of people claim the excess back anyway. Yeah. So it's I'm not sure how it's going to work.
No.
If I think it's one of these things that somebody's come up through sort of taxation advice saying, actually, what we could do a salary sacrifice type of thing for you. Not every employer offers it anyway, so it's not going to affect everybody.
No. But if you're already in a scheme like this, well, I mean, you'd be all right for a few years anyway.
Yeah, it gives you some time to unwind the whole thing because salary sacrifice, you've got to sign a 12-month declaration that's the case. But if you're going to suddenly get a bonus of 20 grand and say, put that in my pension instead, that's not salary sacrifice. Or is it? Because it's a bonus.
Exactly. Yeah, interesting. Pleasingly, though, and to my mind, completely not a surprise, was that she made no mention of changing tax-free cash. No. I mean, literally, man, you and I have got, you were in banking for plenty of years before you became a financial advisor sort of thing. Yeah. But I mean, I've done 28 years in February we've been in this. Right.
Oh, that's mad, isn't it?
You've been out for 5 years.
I've been out for 5 years now, yeah.
So, at pretty much every budget, certainly going back to 2006, at least, there's been rumours of tax-free cash either being removed entirely or capped.
Because it would be the easy thing to attack.
Yeah.
And it would be across the board for everybody. Yeah. So everyone who had a pension would be involved in this. But the reason it's been since 2006 we've been talking about this, and we've talked about it every single year about that, is that although it's still known colloquially as tax-free cash, it's actually legally called pension commencement lump sum. And Gordon Brown's government back in the day, 2006, introduced this.
Yeah, do you remember the time?
And it's like, why have they called it pension commencement lump sum and not tax-free cash? Yeah. And it's like, there's no word tax-free. There's no word tax-free cash here, so they can attack it at some point. And every year, it's going to be attacked, and every year it hasn't. It would be I think it'd be such a major step to take.
It would be a complete sort of turning your back on a major part of the pension contract, I think, between government and savers. It's like, we'll give you tax relief, but we tax you on the way out. Yeah. Right. Except for this 25%. And that's a proper incentive.
It is. And that's the reason people put money in the pension to begin with, because they effectively think the tax relief they've got going in, we're taking the government's 25% out, really. My contributions stay in there and all the growth that's happened on that, and I'll have that bit out. That's a benefit for doing it. Now, if they were to attack that and reduce that to 20% or 15% or 25% on the first X £1,000,
they've already capped it, of course. We've got lump sum allowance now, and it's capped for quite a few years as 25% of the lifetime allowance. But I mean, that doesn't affect the majority of, quotes, ordinary working people.
No, the vast majority of people, they'll take their 25% tax-free cash, and it's not a problem. But I'd just like to say that this rumour mill that's been going on for the past few weeks is like, they're going to attack tax-free cash. They're going to attack tax-free cash. I'm going to have a tax-free cash out now. This really just proves the point. I'm not going to say I told you so, but this,
but we told you so.
But this proves the point of not acting on rumours. You've got to plan for what you know. And those people that have taken their 100% tax-free cash now have limited what they can get out of their pension.
Brought that money into the taxable estate.
Yeah.
Which it currently isn't. It is going to be from April 2027. But if you've taken tax-free cash out of a pension into your bank account, that's now subject to inheritance tax if you die before April 27. So there's a lot. Yeah, it just always seemed like a huge step to take on the basis of rumour.
I'm surprised what they haven't done, and what they haven't done for the last 10, 15 years, because pensions are expensive for the government.
Oh, yeah.
The tax relief is a ludicrous amount of tax relief. And it's been rumoured before about reducing the amount of tax relief you get going into the pension. It would make, in my head, as a simple man, make huge sense to say, okay, because a higher rate and additional rate taxpayers get full tax relief
at 40 and 45%.
Yeah, which does appear a bit ludicrous, because they're the ones that throw big amount of monies in it. So, it works out. So I wouldn't be surprised at some point, but I've been saying this for decades now, the government says, okay, it's going to be 30% tax relief across the board. Flat. So it encourages the smaller savers to put more money in, and it limits the amount of tax relief that the government gives away on the top end. So
I just think that'd be challenging to administer as well, don't it?
Yeah.
Because if you're an employee, you by definition get tax relief at your nominal rate because it's usually done through payroll.
Yeah.
Whereas if you are a basic rate taxpayer at 20%, but they want to give you 30% tax relief on your pension, I'm sure software will be able to do it, but it will require some jiggery pokery.
It's the law of unintended consequences.
Yeah,
let's introduce something to see how we work it out later on. But it's
I agree with you though. I think that kind of makes sense. Flat rate tax relief would make life a lot easier for a lot of people.
It would.
And encourage lower earners to save more.
Yeah, which is the whole idea, really.
One would argue, we assume, don't we?
Yeah.
Incentive drives behaviour and all that. Okay, some quick sort of fairly rapid fire other stuff. VCTs, pretty niche, venture capital trusts. So these are tax relieved investments. They've always had various tax advantages, but one of them was income tax relief at 30%.
Yeah.
Now dropping to 20% from April 26.
Yeah, which again seems to make logical sense, but I think the 30% was there to encourage new formative companies to get money into that, to encourage private investments.
Some limits on EISs as well, but not limits. Yeah. Limits for companies in how much they can raise on EISs, so we won't sort of spend any time on that. And probably, if not the first, certainly the second most trailed possible thing happening.
We didn't know this was going to happen, did we at all?
This is what the Deputy Speaker was telling him off about, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The mansion tax, otherwise known as the high value council tax surcharge.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to call it that.
No. And because I think the Chancellor had an example of a house up country.
It was Darlington, so much years. Darlington.
And they would pay more council tax than a £5 million home in
Mayfair.
In Mayfair. It was just how does that even work anyway?
Well, it's because the council tax bans were set in 1991.
Yeah.
Which is ludicrous. So, so this is now from April 2028, so there will be an additional surcharge collected with council tax. So it's going to be local authorities that will collect it. The government have promised that the costs of collecting it won't
fall on the council.
It won't fall on the council. That'll be sort of covered by central government. So £2,500 annual charge on properties over £2 million, rising to £7,500 for properties over £5 million. I mean, if you've got a property worth £5 million, you're not bleeding over £7,500, are you?
Probably not.
One would argue.
Yeah,
perhaps that's a bit simplistic, but
yeah, I suppose I don't know. But what they're saying, the people with the broader shoulders, the people with the wealth will have to pay a bit more. And like you say, if you've got a house worth £5 million, an extra £7,500 is probably not the end of the world.
No, I'm sure it'll grate.
But it's payable on the actual owners of the property.
Yes, not the occupiers.
Not the occupiers, which is interesting as well.
That is interesting.
So I don't know. Yeah, I suppose
it's the occupiers pay council tax.
Yeah.
If you're renting a property, you're the one paying
you pay the council tax.
So how are they going to do that?
I guess it would be done with land registry. I would have thought so. And then, but it's going to be collected by the council with the council tax, but somebody different might be paying it. So I don't know how it's going to work, but it's
got 2.5 years to work it out. It's April 2028 is coming in. I wonder if the charge is going to be cliff edge as well. So obviously it is if your property's over £2 million.
Yeah.
Also, how are they going to be valued? Is it going to be most recent transaction? That don't make any sense because a house might not have changed hands for 30 years.
Well, and I get this picture of houses in London in the wealthy areas, and where they're digging down now, do 2 floors underneath, so all the houses in the row look exactly the same, and then below one you've got a television room and a swimming pool and stuff like that.
Yeah, and one of those rotating garage things for your Porsche to go on.
Yeah,
it rotates and comes down.
So the house might be valued the same as the next door neighbours, but it might be worth like another £2 million because of that.
Yeah, right.
You know. I don't know.
It's like you can value it, but you have to value it from the street, so you can't see what's going on underground.
or in the back garden.
Yeah, I don't know how it's going to be valued. I don't know also whether the charge starts at £2,500. They just said it's rising to £7,500 for.
I imagine it will ratchet up depending on.
You reckon it's like if your property's worth £3,500, it'll be interpolated
somewhere in the middle,
right?
Yeah. I would have thought so. That makes sense, doesn't it?
But I think the valuation question's interesting. I don't know how that's going to work.
Yeah, good call.
An army of government-sponsored estate agents, chartered surveyors or whatever.
Well, they'll make some money out of it.
Well, yeah. On which they'll pay national insurance.
Yeah,
EVs. I'm an electric vehicle driver, so
again, another thing, I'm not quite sure how this is going to work, but from April 2028, so you've got a couple of years to work this out. If you've got a proper EV car, you're going to pay 3p a mile extra for using it because you're still using the road.
Yeah, this is always going to come eventually.
I always thought this was a stupid thing. You could buy an electric car and have no car tax. Hold on, is it floating above the road? Is it? No.
We do pay car tax now. It's not the Jetsons, you remember? No, Back to the Future. But it's we do pay full car tax now, but what we don't pay is fuel duty.
No.
So that's what it's.
Yeah.
So they call it the EVED, the electric vehicle excise duty, right?
But if you've got a plug-in hybrid, it's different again.
Yes, because you will be paying the fuel duty, depending on how efficient your plug-in hybrid is. So 3p a mile for EVs, 1.5 pence per mile for plug-in hybrids. So yeah, and it's going to be from what I'm reading in the government documents, it's going to be kind of self-certifying your mileage.
Or could they get it from your MOT?
Well, yeah, if cars over 3 years old.
Yeah, well, yeah, I suppose, yeah.
Service history? You don't service electric cars.
No, and I suppose a lot of people with EVs will have them for 3 years and chop them in and get the next one, and then probably never have a car that's 3 years old.
Well, yeah, I don't know. So, but apparently it's going to be it's like anything. The whole the whole tax system is based on they assume you tell the truth and they might check. So you better be, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
A number of the times over the years, people said, "Well, how will the government know what I sell my rental property for?"
Well, if you don't tell them, they won't know.
Well, yeah. But if they decide to check and get all forensic, then you don't really want to have.
Well, the worry then is if you're doing it on that, chances are you're doing something funny on something else as well. And then when they do a forensic check, they go into everything.
Yeah.
I had one of those.
What?
When I worked for CIS.
Did you?
Yeah, because we were technically self-employed. So we could offset mileage and car and that sort of stuff against it. And I was taught by previous agents. So I lived in Hale and covered Weybridge Padstow. I claimed my mileage every day for 18 months, and the taxman came back to me when I said, "Hold on a minute, where do you work?" So I said I work at Weybridge. So I couldn't claim the mileage between home.
Oh, wow.
And my debit, it was called in the day.
Yeah.
Because that's classed as me driving to work. Like anybody else driving to work. You can't claim on that. So I claim mileage for the whole lot. So I had to tag back all my mileage, knowing how many times I've been there, take that off.
All right.
And they got me on that and then just investigate everything else, which was fine. I paid whatever I owed. Because I said, look, hands up, this is what I was told.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I didn't know. I'll pay you. Over a period, I don't mind. I'm happy to pay my tax.
I don't want to go to prison. You or I would not last long in prison.
No. I don't think it's as it's made out. Don't drop the soap.
I was teeing you up for that. I knew you would say that. A little bit more on electric cars. The grant. So this is the sort of reduction in the price, sort of subsidised by the government. That's extended to the 29-30 tax year. And then for electric vehicles only, there's an additional car tax you pay. It's the expensive car supplement. That's a car's purchase price over 40,000, but it's been lifted to 50,000 for EVs with immediate effect.
Yeah. Actually, talking about cars, when they talked about the Motability scheme, which I didn't realize.
Oh, yes. Yeah, they did.
The people that bought these luxury cars as part of Motability, that does go against the
cynical,
scheme.
Doesn't it, a little bit, yeah.
I need a car to get around. Oh, I fancy this big Mercedes instead. It's like, not quite sure about that. So.
Anyway, putting a stop to that. No Labour government was going to carry that on, really, were they, obviously. And then student loans, you mentioned this.
Yeah, one thing, a little thing which I picked up on was that the Plan 2 repayment thresholds have been retained until April 2030, so another 5 or 6 years yet.
So imagine your Holly be on Plan 2.
Holly, I don't know. There's too many different types. I guess so, and obviously holding the thresholds for earnings means as those people get pay rises, they'll end up making some contributions or higher
payments
contributions back into the student loans, possibly.
So another form of fiscal drag, really.
Although if they're earning that bit more, perhaps they ought to pay some of the student loans back.
Well, that's the thinking, isn't it? But they've kept the thresholds the same, not raising them by inflation, which is always worth mentioning. So, I mean, all in all, it could have been worse. Nowhere near as cataclysmic as last year.
No, not at all. There's nothing major jumping out apart from this additional 2%, and you can't get away from that because it's dividends and stuff. I suppose that's going to affect people that are own their own companies, that pay themselves small salaries and larger dividends.
You're looking at me when you say that.
No, not at all. No, I just happen to be looking at you because you're podcasting with me.
Okay.
But actually, the rates are still better than income tax anyway. So it's but the margins on the difference is changed a little bit. But
sure.
But nothing major and screams and shouts out at us that we weren't expecting in a way.
No, and I don't think anything major is going to drive behaviour change except the salary sacrifice thing. That's going to need to really be thought. But again, that's 3.5 years away.
Yeah, so we've got some time to work that out.
Yeah, and the mechanisms for how it's going to work as well.
Yeah, and I think the one overriding thing I'd say with the whole thing is, when it comes to advice and planning what you're doing, don't act on the rumours that might come out. Everybody thinks now, what could they do in the lead up to a budget? Yeah. So this tax-free cash thing, just don't work on rumours, because some people will have taken action now and they can unwind it.
No, because they were very clear about that. Messages from the FCA and from HMRC, because last year people took their tax-free cash and then sent it back in under the cooling off.
40-day cooling off, whatever,
which they were precluded from doing. Precluded from doing, not procluded, precluded.
Precluded, yeah.
That was an important clarification. Okay, so that's the budget. So, not sort of a damp squib or anything like that, but just, nowhere near as bad as last year.
No. Okay. And hopefully they won't leak as much next year when it comes to
do you think they'll listen to the Deputy Speaker?
I don't. They didn't listen to her yesterday when she told me to quieten down. And then as soon as
a dozen times.
And as soon as the Chancellor got up again, it was like screaming and shouting again. It's like, just let her talk, for goodness sake.
I know. Yeah.
Wave your papers.
Yeah, wave your papers. Don't just talk over her. I think it's just very disrespectful. Anyway, I think if I was the Speaker, I would just be like, shut the up. Which, I don't think that's allowed. You're not allowed to clap, are you? So you're probably not allowed. Certainly not allowed to swear in the House of Commons.
No, but you can shout as much as you want to. It's just like just let her talk, because it just takes time then. And then
more and more like school, isn't it? There's a lot of politicking from her side as well. Lots of there was what we sort of inherited from the Tories, and it's just like, just give us the details. We could probably reduce the length of the speech by 40%.
Well, actually, some of the shouts from the opposite side gave her ins to. Talk about why they were shouting and say, well, they're only shouting because they don't agree with what we're doing, or they could have done this or whatever. So it gives her an in for a retort as well, which doesn't help. But
no, right. Anyway, that's that. Let's have a review. We haven't had a review in a while. I feel like we need to bring the reviews back.
Yeah. Although when you got a name like this, I'm not quite sure.
I don't know how you say that.
Gizzard. So it says capital G, small Z, small R, D, capital D. So it's a review from Gizzard. That's 5-star. Clarity equals understanding. They know exactly what they're talking about, this person. So if your objective is to understand what is happening with your money and how you could better plan your future, then this podcast series is absolutely for you. Clear, simple, and engaging. This series is worth every second of your time.
That's very kind.
That's really nice.
Thank you for that, Gizzard.
Gizzard.
And if you like what you're hearing here, you like what we're up to, and if you enjoy the video version as well, head over to meaningfulmoney.tv/love. That really helps us with the audio version, because that sort of, you can leave a review there and it'll get sent out to, it keeps us near the top of the rankings because the algorithm likes it. And if you're watching on video, then like and subscribe to the channel. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. That really helps. Nearly 1,000 subscribers already. We've only done 3, I think, so far. So
that's good.
Yeah, it's going well.
I've not put people off with my face then.
Quite the opposite. A few comments on just how handsome you are. So there you go. We knew that though. So just making me look bad.
Yeah, well, never mind.
Never mind.
We got to live with our things.
Yeah, exactly. It's tough for you, isn't it, man?
Yeah, it really is.
Well, we've been mates for nearly 30 years, so I'm well used to being overshadowed. Anyway, no. So look, that's it. This is what did we say? Session number 598B. I can't believe we didn't think that through. Anyway, we're going to make no mention of any more on that score. But that's it for this week. I hope it was helpful. Hope it was enjoyable. Leave any comments under the video. Or send any comments to hello@meaningfulmoney.tv. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Mr. Roger Weeks.
Take care.
We'll talk to you next time.